Yeah. Let's jump right into some Michigan State basketball. This is when I just walk away, right? Kyle, you got this? Or what?
What's that?
He's texting.
He's still texting. Who is he
I'm doing
texting?
work. It's like, yeah. People bug me at all hours of the day.
I spent 6 hours waiting for a text back yesterday, and you're texting during this?
Because you need to
You
text me.
could not be doing anything.
When you text me at night, I get right back to you.
If
we
you-
traded a ton of messages last night.
Yeah, we did.
If you texted him right now, he would answer.
I would answer you. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
You never know.
Probably not.
But anyways, we're going to preview Michigan State, kind of just like we always do. We're going to name some players that to keep an eye on. And obviously, we're a couple weeks in, so we're going to talk about what we've seen so far as well.
Yeah, this should be a fun one.
A lot of excitement.
Yeah.
This is a really good team. There's
It's
a lot of good players.
The best team in Michigan, right, is Michigan State basketball.
It probably is right now.
Yeah.
In all aspects. I mean, the
Yeah.
Lions
They might
are
actually-
coming off a win, so they're challenging for that. But I would give it to Michigan State.
They might actually beat Michigan or beat the Pistons too. Actually, I mean, Pistons
Yeah,
are so young.
there's a good chance.
That's true. Yeah.
But anyways, Michigan State, they went into 2019 ranked as the AP number 1 team, and after early struggles, finished the 2019 season on top of the Big Ten and up to the number 9 in the final AP rankings. They finished with a 22-9 overall record, and we're looking to earn a number 1 seed. I think if they had a good showing in the Big Ten tournament before things got shut down. I think basketball is a sport that you can kind of look at. Just it's more about who you lose and who you gain. So, what are some key players that Michigan State lost that are worth
Two
bringing
huge
up?
ones.
Yeah, 2 huge ones.
Yeah.
Who
Both
do you think
both
those are?
drafted too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Cash and X and Xavier Tillman. Yeah.
Yeah, so Cassius Winston, Xavier Tillman. I mean, those guys were basically their offense last year.
I think
In a lot of ways.
Winston's like the 2-time Big Ten Player of the Year, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was the. Did he win the Player of the Year, the AP National Player of the Year? Or was he like one vote off or
That
something?
is a really good
He
question.
might have.
Zion might have taken it from him.
Well,
now that I'm thinking about it.
Zion was
Zion
gone
was
last
gone.
year.
Yeah, I think he did. Hold on. I'm
I
looking
don't
it
know.
up.
I don't know. That's a really good. Look that up.
Oh, last year's no, that was Dayton's guy. That was
it?
Yeah,
Oh, yep, that makes sense.
yeah.
All right, but anyways,
Yeah,
then
sorry.
some key returners as well. They have Aaron Henry, Josh Langford, Rocket Watts, Marcus Bingham, and Gabe Brown. I think you're going to be deep. You're going to have some good players there that are coming back. But then you also have the additions, Joey Hauser, who is a transfer from Marquette, and Maddie Sissoko. Is that how you say that?
Sissoko.
Yeah.
Who's a freshman, true freshman. That he's gonna compete here. So Ryan, I mean, what do you think you've seen so far? With these few games. So they're 5-0. They beat Duke on the road, which is awesome, and they did it very well. They did it last week Tuesday. We were watching it, or you
Yeah.
guys were watching it when we were trying to podcast. But hey, I mean that
You beat Duke.
they beat Duke.
Yeah.
That's a good.
At
so
Duke.
I remember you
they-
saying that this is going to be a really fun team, really
Yeah.
exciting team.
Yeah.
So what? Overall
I
thoughts?
think they're built in a different Michigan State kind of way. They're almost built like the early 2000, like the national championship team, where physically they match up really well against the elite teams, the Kansas, the Duke, North Carolina typically, but Kentucky even.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they're going to play a team this year. They will not look overmatched athletically, and that is the difference this year compared to last year's team,
Yeah.
which had a really good collection of players, but they were very young. They were very, senior heavy and then very, very young. Well, all those young guys stepped up, and they are. I mean, we'll get into it in a second, but a lot of these guys, I really love the way the team is designed. Rocket Watts is this point guard, but he's a scoring first type of point guard. He's not a Cassius Winston where he wants to give up the ball in his hands. Like the ball is moving a lot more than it has the last couple of years. And actually they're playing him off the ball a lot. And Joey Hauser seems to be somebody that flourishes with the ball in his hands and decision maker and passer. So you've got all of these big time playmakers, really, really great athletes, skilled shooters as well. And then you get your big guys are these really skilled athletes that thrive with the ball. It's almost like the Draymond Green where he could be in the middle of the paint and still running the show from there. And
Okay.
you just never really know where he's going to go next. And mix that with a guy like, Rocket Watts, who has way more athleticism than Cassius Winston ever had.
Yep.
I think it's just they complement each other really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that's really exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your expectations? Kind of not expectations, but like, what have you seen so far?
Yeah, I would start by saying it was a huge disappointment for somebody like Cassius Winston of what happened last year, right?
Yeah.
It was such a bummer. I mean, because
Yeah.
I don't know what he'll turn into in the NBA. I don't think it's going to be a huge.
Are you talking the way the season
The way the
ended
season
before
ended.
March Madness?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's what
They were
what they were built
clicking.
for.
They were
Yeah,
like
they're playing some really good ball.
and they'd had some losses, but then at that point, like they ran off a bunch of wins at the end there,
And they were
then,
leaders. They were built on leadership. They were built on experience.
Yeah.
And this team is not built like that. But
No,
man, do they handle the ball well?
that's what I was gonna say. I think this team is built very different. When Cassius would come off the floor last year, it was like, okay, let's just hunker down.
Yeah.
Not always, but like a lot of the time, like, okay, let's hunker, because he was the general, he was the
yeah.
leader,
Yeah.
and that's why I was really excited about last year, because it was just like, okay, you had that, like almost like you had this general out there that was gonna, who knows what would have happened. Fine, this team's different.
Yeah.
You got a lot of scorers. You got a lot of athleticism. It's not different, but it's like they've come one more year into it with Aaron Henry, with Gabe Brown, with Marcus Big, like Rocket Watts too. He was so young last year.
Yeah.
and he played like it. He was a
He
little out of
did.
control
Yes.
last year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When that was kind of you'd have that sometimes when Cassius would come off the floor and he's running the show, and you're like, okay, like what?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
got messy. Right?
It got
Yeah.
messy. Yeah. I'm very excited. I am.
Yeah.
I will say one more thing. I think one of my favorite things about this team is in the last couple of years they've been 6, 7, maybe 8 players deep, where they were always having the same group out there. And if it was an off night, it was an off night. It was an on night, they were tough to beat. This team is built differently in a lot of different ways. Rocket Watts was not starting to the first couple of games of the season. You had
this year you're saying?
Foster Lawyer, yeah,
Oh, okay.
starting at point guard, and he's a good game manager.
For sure.
He can shoot the ball. He makes really good decisions, but he's also like 5'10",
Yeah.
not a good athlete at
Right.
all. So when they play a team like Duke, he didn't start. They took
Yeah.
Foster Lawyer out of the game. He barely played that game because they knew he would have been overmatched
Okay.
athletically. And so instead, then you had Rocket Watts take over, and it was the right move. But this team is built with they're 10 to 12 players deep. Like even their big guys, like Julius Marble. Julius Marble is a stud. Like against Duke, he flourished. The next game after that, he was awesome. He had scored like 10 or 12 points in like 8 minutes of play. Those are the kind of players that they have. Malik Hall, another one. You're not going to hear about these guys' names. They're very, very talented. They were actually really highly recruited, and they're fighting for just a spot. They're fighting for 10 minutes.
So it sounds like, basically, depth is always a good thing for Michigan State. They generally have that. But what it sounds like they have is more high-end talent with that depth.
Yeah.
Like you have guys that can take over a game at any point,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I think depth was a concern to me last year more, and not. I think because a number of these players have come along a little bit, right? Some of the names I just said, and then you had Rocket Watts, who was brand new to this, who was like, so when you get those second string out there, it was like just try to circle the wagons, just try to hold on till we can get Xavier Tillman and we can get everybody back out there. Where I agree, I think you've got 10 ballers on this team now.
The athleticism is going to be you're
Yeah.
going to see the difference.
and even just talent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it translates against any team that they're going to face because they can match up in a lot of different ways. You bring Marcus Bingham in the game. He's 6'11" and the longest human being you've ever seen in your life.
I think this is going to be a big year for him.
Yeah, he blocks. If he was playing full-time center minutes, he would have 7 blocks a game. He's incredible.
He's a breakout player.
And he's so long. And even Kithier, like he's one of those centers that just does his job. He's always in the right place, the right time, rebounds because he works really hard. But then again, you get the Julius Marble, the Malik Hall, where they're bigger bodies. And so if you need toughness, if you need strength to move people around at 6'9", 6'10", those are your guys you're going to go to. If you need the height to match up with some crazy, athletic freak from Kentucky, then you bring in Marcus Bingham and you can guard him that way too. So there really are no holes in this team, except if Rocket Watts gets a little bit out of control, or if he gets in foul trouble, that might be their biggest downfall.
Nice. So they started preseason ranked 13th. We've seen them go 5-0. Obviously, the big win against then number 6th ranked Duke, and really looked really good doing it. Hauser has come in and averaged 14 points per game. Watts 13.6, Henry 11.6. They both have had a nice start to the season, and with the win, they moved up to 4th overall, or 4th ranked, which is a really good start. I think that's exactly what you would hope for Michigan State. So I do want to talk about players more in depth. That way, we're going to name a breakout player. Don't forget about rebound, dark horse MVP, under the radar, and then we're going to end with some just overall expectations of what this team should be. So can I start with? I'll just start with my breakout player. I'm going to start with Rocket Watts. I think it's kind of an obvious one in a lot of ways. He was an all Big Ten freshman selection. He finished the regular season with 16 starts and 27 games played, averaging 9 points per game while adding 2.3 rebounds and 1.7 assists. I think you kind of, like Ryan already mentioned, he's not the distributor that's looking for the pass first. He's gonna take his shots when they're there. In 22.3 minutes per game, he was 4th on the team in minutes played, which coming off the bench says quite a bit. 2nd on the team in 3-point field goals made. He made 34 of them. He scored in double figures 11 times. He came back to MSU to be the guy, and I think that's the key. Is he came back? He could have gone in the NBA draft. He probably would have been drafted higher than Cassius, probably potentially. But he decided to come back because he wanted to be the guy, and I feel like that's why I think breakout player that he stands out to me in that one. Ryan, do you have a breakout player?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go because Rocket Watts is, I think, the most obvious pick. It does make sense. I'm going to go with Gabe Brown. One of the guys I didn't even bring up in my little spiel there at the beginning, and he is playing the role off the bench right now. So I think he started maybe one of the games at this point. Gabe Brown is the most athletic guy in this team. And not only that, he's probably the most natural shooter as well, spot-up shooter. He's got great talent. He's a lefty. He jumps out of the gym. He's like 6'6" or 6'7", 6'8" maybe even. I mean, he's got an NBA type of body. And when he's on the floor, he is electric for that team. He can restart the team when they need it the most.
Yeah.
And if I'm picking him for breakout because not to say that he's going to be the leader of this team, but if something did happen to one of the guys, he would step in and probably exceed expectations and be a better starter than that the guy who is missing.
Okay. No, that's very important to have, and if he can accept that roll off the bench too.
Yeah, he actually reminds me of like Jaren Jackson. Remember Jaren Jackson a couple of years ago? Drafted 3rd overall, 2nd overall
Something
to the
like
Grizzlies.
Yeah. Grizz.
He was quiet at first, and as the season grew, it's like, okay, this guy's talent is too good to overlook. Like, he is our go-to guy.
That's why he went so high.
That's why he went so high. He was just too good, and his body just was a mismatch no matter who he was against. I feel like Gabe Brown is kind of in that role this time around. Maybe more of an obvious kind of NBA body than the other, though.
Kyle, do you have one, or
I gave you mine already.
Yeah, you did.
Marcus Bingham.
All right.
Yeah. I just with that size, that length, that athleticism, still like
he can shoot.
That's the thing. Yeah. Ben Simmons-esque. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
But Ben Simmons can't seem to shoot the last couple of years. So.
Yeah. I guess it kind of. Don't forget about player. I was gonna go with Joey Hauser. I think everybody was hoping that he was going to play last year when he was transferring. They thought that he was going to get that automatic or the quick exemption to play right away, and he probably would have started. But obviously, that's where I was like, don't forget that this guy's coming in. He's really good. He has a high degree of on-court intelligence, whereas he can find the open shot near the basket where Watts and Langford can distribute the ball to him for an easy made basket. I think this dude is going to be very, very important to this team.
He is so talented with the ball in his hands and he makes the right basketball move almost every time.
Yeah, that's great to have. It's very important, especially when you're losing a guy like Cassius, who's the guy with the ball in his hand that you know is going to make the right decision. Sounds like you have a guy. I'm not going to call him Cassius or any, and it's a completely different position, correct? But anyways, it's like if you have someone that you can trust, that's so important, and he sounds to be that guy. Sounds like he's going to be that guy for Michigan State. Ryan.
My don't forget about player is Aaron Henry, and he was the third wheel on last year's team in the last couple of years, I guess.
Yeah.
He is 6'6". He is the best defensive player in the Big Ten, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if he wins Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. And he guards the best player every single night, like the most talented, gifted athlete on the other team. Aaron Henry is against them. I think this team, his downfall has been if he is relied upon to be the main scorer every single game. That's not his role. That's not where he flourishes. He flourishes as being the defensive stopper and scoring, because he is a very talented scorer too, but scoring when it's available, when it just comes naturally in the game,
Yeah. Kyle, is there someone that stands out to you for that? Langford.
I mean, because I hope everything works out great. I don't have a lot of faith, I guess.
Yeah.
That's my problem with the last 2 years with him. But like, it's kind of like a don't forget, we still have him.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah.
And he could shoot.
he can shoot really well, and he's doing really well right now. But yeah.
No, and that's why I actually had him as my rebound player. Because it's not that he's been bad and he's got a rebound from that. It's just the health.
Yeah.
The health issues.
Yeah, for sure.
I read a stat. I mean, he hasn't played a regular season game since December of 2018.
That's it. Yeah.
And
And
it's
that's
like-
kind of why
and-
I was like, don't forget about
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Like, I hope he's good.
It definitely
Yeah.
fits both in that way. I mean, the dude, he was, I think, the second leading scorer or something like that in 2018.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Shooting the
he's
lights out.
Really
he
good.
is crazy good.
Yeah.
If he's healthy.
Yeah, and if he can stay healthy, and it sounds like he is so far,
Yeah.
he's going to be a very good bounce back player or rebound player, whatever you want to say. But
Either one's fine.
yeah, so that's where I'm going with rebound player.
Is that my cue?
Yeah,
All right, rebound player. I will go with Rocket Watts. I think last year, again, he did have a good year. He performed, but I don't think that's his nature is to be a second fiddle to anybody. So I think this year he's in to prove to NBA scouts. Really, I think he wants to get drafted next year.
yeah.
He's got a lot of friends. He was really high up in like the AAU circuit
Okay.
in high school. So he's got a lot of friends that have already been drafted or will be drafted this next year pretty high, and I don't think he wants to be left out. So this is his breakout year. I think he's going to
that makes
rebound from his out of control kind of craziness last year and all the
That's
energy.
what it was with him. He seemed that's a great
You
way.
You
to
think
it's
he
just
was
too much
just
energy.
trying too hard?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a
for
freshman,
sure.
right?
And being so new to it,
Yeah.
And it's just hard to do when you're not getting the minutes that a starter would normally get. This is his team, for the most part.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the way it feels like. The team will go as far as he brings them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's his time to shine. I think he's going to rebound a lot.
Kyle, do you have anybody else, or is that kind of where you were leaning as well?
Rebound?
Yeah.
I kind of I agree with both of you guys. Like, it was an interesting one for me because I saw you put Joey Hauser for 2.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So I was gonna put
Don't forget and rebound.
Langford for 2
Yeah, it kind of fits. Yeah.
because I hope he's what he was.
he definitely has the ability to
for
be
him,
that guy.
like how heartbreaking for him as
Yeah.
as a basketball player. You feel bad for the guy.
I feel like come March he's going to be the guy standing in the corner hitting some major game-winning shot. Like he'll just do that.
That'd be nice. That'd be
Being a
nice.
senior.
Yes.
That'd be nice.
Yes,
All right,
it is.
so dark horse MVP. I went with Joey Hauser. I mean, I already kind of talked about him. I just think, I think he's a good fit, and he's exactly what this team wants to be. And I think he's going to shine a lot. So I think he's going to kind of be that dark horse MVP coming in as a transfer. He's not that high end recruit that you get excited about, but I mean, he's very talented, very good basketball player. Anybody else, Ryan? Who comes to mind for you?
No, I agree, Joey Hauser. I think he's the perfect fit in this system, and I think he complements everybody else's game around him. And of all the people that are out of control and crazy and have that energy, he is the most controlled, not non-energetic guy who just does everything right. So
Yeah.
I think he's the perfect fit in this group.
He's going to probably be a quiet leader.
Yeah, it seems
If
like
that's
he
fair,
already
right?
is.
Yeah. Kyle
Sorry for all the reasons Ryan was just talking about.
and me.
Aaron Henry. No, what do you say about Aaron Henry? before?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I just think he can do so much defensively. He
Yeah.
he can still shoot. He's still he was my guy for that.
Yeah.
One.
Well, we've named like 3 or 4 people that are
that-
really the most important players on this team already.
Exactly.
That's what
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
them special.
Yeah. That's why they're going to be
Is anybody
be there in the end.
Is anybody hoping Langford goes down again?
I mean,
No, totally kidding.
Gabe
Whoa,
Brown, right?
man.
Gabe Brown is. Yeah, no.
Got darker.
That's totally dark. Yeah,
Man.
it did get dark here.
Anyway, I don't know where the comments are, and nobody's even watching them because Mike is not here. Sorry for that if you guys are commenting. But under the
chat.
radar, I went with Gabe Brown for all the reasons Ryan kind of brought him up. He's one of the most athletic guys on the team. He's going to be the projected sixth man, but as soon as someone goes down, he's going to get a lot of minutes. I think he could get some starter minutes as well as his confidence grows. I don't know. I really like what his ability is there. He's very athletic, and I think that's the key with this type of team.
This one I struggle with because there are three guys that I'm trying to decide between. It's Malik Hall, Julius Marble, and Marcus Bingham. They're all bigs, but I think the group collectively are the most under the radar group because together they're always going to have a huge impact on the game, and we need one of those guys to step up every single game to be a game changer, and I think they all will.
true.
You know, and one's weakness is the other one's strength, so
Yeah.
they're going to complement each other. I'm picking all three of those guys.
He took 3. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man,
a
I mean,
power move.
That he just took yours and Micah's, so that's it, right? We're done?
I just want his 3. Yeah.
Good bet. I'm gonna win this
I
somehow,
love it.
right?
Yes, yeah.
All right. So overall expectations, I kind of wrote some stuff down here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jump in when you guys want to. But I don't think it's fair to go into the Big Ten regular season and say title or bust with how deep the Big Ten is.
It's a good conference. Yeah.
But I mean,
It feels
I
that way.
feel like Michigan State is kind of at that in this era that they're at. Tom Izzo, I don't know if he's technically on the back end of his career, but he's set a precedent to. It is about the Big Ten titles. It's not like a Big Ten title or bust, but that's what makes it a successful regular
kind of
season.
is.
That's the only thing that'll make it a successful regular
Yeah.
season, in my opinion. If that's a fair way to look at
I mean,
it.
they have like 5 teams in the top 25 right now, and undefeated Michigan team that started in the top 25 is not in there.
Yeah.
So this is a great conference. You have Michigan State moved up to number 4. They're still not number 1 in their conference. Iowa's ranked 3rd overall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Iowa's not that good.
I do think Michigan State, with all of their regular season championships, they are the Kansas of the Big Ten. They are the Dukes or North Carolina, where people expect them to get the championships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow they always end up there. Last year they shouldn't have been there. The way they were playing early on, they shouldn't have done that, but they just do because
Sure, they
they're
have 9
so
losses.
competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Big Ten will beat up on itself. None of them will probably be too far up to challenge like a number 1 Gonzaga.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do that because the conference is too good in the
Yeah.
long run.
No, because you're going to see the same thing as last year, where the team that wins the Big Ten regular season is going to have 8, 9, 10 losses.
Yeah.
And,
I
and
really think they will.
so I think the expectations, yes, to win the Big Ten championship, because those are the expectations that Tom Izzo has every single year.
Yeah. Yep. So do you think that they're going to be battling for a number 1 seed, or do you think the Big Ten is just going to beat up on each other, kind of like you already mentioned, that the highest Big Ten team, let's say a share of a Big Ten regular season title, wins the tournament, is more of a 2 seed? I guess, like, what should we expect going into something like that? I know it's hard to say.
I think they will. I think they will compete for a number 1 because the committee for basketball has more say in just kind of like putting who they think are the top 4 teams in the top 4, because the records don't tell the story.
Yep.
And I think a team like Kansas is not as good as they normally are. I think a team like Duke they're not as good as they normally are.
Yeah.
And North Carolina, they've been struggling the last couple of years. So I think the powerhouse teams that know how to win, the programs that have been there, done that, and they expect to do that, they're not as good as most years in that way. And so last year we talked about a lot. College basketball in general did not have that supreme team. This year Gonzaga kind of looks like that right now, but other than that, it's like the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the other top schools sprinkled in.
Yeah. Kyle, I mean, what are you expecting?
I think
We're talking going into
discussion
March.
for number 1 seed, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think so. I think expectations are high. I think
Yeah.
this is a team that.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think Iowa falls off. I do.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of funny here because
Illinois is tough.
as we were sitting here talking
There's
about
so
it,
many.
it's like I think everybody expects Michigan State to win the Big Ten and be a high end team
Seed.
going into it, and like you flip the script to like Michigan football, and I know I probably shouldn't be doing this, but it's like
They're terrible.
Well, they're on the show sheet.
but like the expectations
too low.
are there for both schools like at the same level. I feel like for Michigan football, the expectations are the same as Michigan State basketball.
That's a
but
good
when
analogy,
Michigan State basketball doesn't reach those expectations, it doesn't take like I don't know. He doesn't take as much heat. The I don't know.
Izzo?
Yeah.
That's because
it's-
they win Big Ten championships.
Yeah, I know that, and I know the reason, but it's like I don't know. I feel like it.
That's because they've done it, though.
I know.
He's actually done it.
A lot.
Right, yeah.
He's like
I still don't think it's
third
fair.
in Final Fours.
Yeah,
Number
right, yeah.
whatever, yeah.
And
So-
has a national championship and a ton of Big Ten titles where your buddy Jimmy H has
No, I think Michigan football should strive to be in Michigan State basketball shoes.
I do too.
They should strive to be there, or even
Yep.
Michigan
That
basketball.
hurt Sam real
No,
hard.
no, I've said that for a long time.
Say that. Say it right now.
Compete.
Michigan State is
Wait, no.
Michigan State basketball is Michigan football. They're the same.
That's not what
They're
he
the
said.
same thing.
That's not what
what
he
I
said.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He's, exactly. I knew he could never
Not
get those
performance-wise.
words out.
Anyways, tournament expectations obviously hard to do. I mean, Elite Eight, Final Four is where they should be. Obviously, things get crazy, and you don't. I don't want anybody to like, oh, they're gonna do this or that because you don't even know anything.
I don't.
It's a
I
I
don't
don't.
know
14.
nearly enough, but you think it's a Final
It's
Four
the
team.
Final 14.
I don't think you ever start there though, because you get to the Big Ten championship, and then after that, it's a one and done deal, and that it's March Madness for a
Ooh,
reason.
It is gnarly. Yeah, I take back everything I just said. Ryan
It was
is
so
the-
easy to convince you.
Ryan is the voice of reason.